Hello.
Hello, I'm here. Just waiting for more students to join. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. We're gonna get started here in just a few minutes, but I'm gonna give a few more minutes for people to join. First class, sometimes it takes a little while for some people.
Oh, okay.
So just hang tight with me and we'll get started here in a minute.
Okay.
Those of you that are already in the class, if you would go to your chat box and go ahead and type your name in the chat box for me and hit enter. If you're not that familiar with Zoom, down at the very bottom of your screen, if you'll scroll down, a little taskbar should come up and you'll see a little box, looks like a little conversation bubble with the word chat in it. Okay. Is it Lamoni? Is that how you, Lamoni? Is that how
Yeah,
you name?
you could just call me Lemon.
Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you. And
Nice to meet
I see we have Kenneth with us. So if you're joining me this morning, and you're not very familiar with Zoom, we're just going to go over a few things. You can mute and unmute your mic. If you look down in the left hand corner of your screen, you'll see a little, looks like a little microphone. And when you scroll over it, it'll say mute. If you click on that, that's going to mute you. If you see like a little red line through it, that means you're muted. If you turn it back on, it's going to show green, or it's not going to have the red line in it. That means you're unmuted. When you're not talking, I just ask that you stay muted. It just helps cut down on background noise. There's a video if you want to show your face. You don't have to, but right by the little microphone down there is the stop video. That keeps your face from showing up in the screen like mine is right now. If you start it, it will show your face. So if I stop mine, you just get my picture like that because I have it set that way. If I turn it back on, then you see me live. The other thing that we use a lot is that chat box, which you've already found. So as we're going through class and you have questions, you can either unmute your mic and ask, or you can go to the chat box. A lot of people like to use the chat box, which is fine. Let's see. Another cool thing is like there's a little reaction box down there to your right on that toolbar. And it looks like it has a little smiley face with a plus in it. And it brings up little reactions for you. You can raise your hand. Looks like this if you're looking at my screen. Or you can laugh. You can look surprised. If you lower, you can see where it says raise your hand or lower your hand. So right now I took my hand off. Anyways, that's just something cool that you can use. I guess we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. My name is Jessica Brown, and I have worked in adult ed for a couple of years now. This will be my first year teaching in adult ed. I spent the last 15 years before I came to adult ed working in migrant education. And I did all sorts of things for migrant ed, including teaching. I did preschool, I've done summer school for K through 8th grade, taught math and literacy, just all kinds of things you could possibly think of. You never know what migrant ed will get you into, but it's something near and dear to my heart. But I love my adult ed students and I'm happy to be where I am right now. So I'm just going to go over, I'm going to see if I can give me just a sec. I'm going to have to pause this recording. Sometimes when you're working with multiple screens in Zoom, it can be difficult. So just bear with me while I'm navigating this. I'm going to see if I can share a screen for you. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Aha. Okay, can you all see this where it looks like a Google Classroom? Have you been able to get into your Google Classroom yet?
Oh, yes, I have.
Okay, how about you, Kenneth? And if you need to, you can use the chat box. So are you guys still seeing my Google Classroom here?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go into your Google Classroom, you're going to be using this every day. And what it looks like. And if you're not real familiar, I will show you really quick. If you're in your email account, your Gmail, once you've joined the class, you go over here to this little grid. It says Google Apps. You click on that and you can scroll down and there's the little classroom, looks like a little chalkboard. You would click on that. This is going to bring up your Google classes. This is reading session 4 that we're in. And this is kind of what it looks like. Mine's going to look a little different than yours because it's a teacher view, but it's very similar. So right here where we're at is called the stream. This is where your Zoom link is going to be at all times. So every time we meet on Zoom, you're going to click on this link right here for every meeting, and it will take you straight to our Zoom meeting. If you look up here in this menu, up here, you'll see classwork. If you click on classwork, you're going to see all of your assignments, and you're going to see a few things in there for today on your view. So you'll see the landing page. It's going to give you my instructor bio. It's going to give you my contact information, my hours. I've got a couple of things in here, instructions for Common Lit. Common Lit is another website that we're going to use to do some assignments. There's a little video in here about how to submit assignments. There is a syllabus for the course that you need to look over. And there's a syllabus quiz. I see that some people have already turned that in. That's great. And there's a little tell me about yourself section. And then you'll see down here in your Google Classroom, class 1, October 27th, which is today. And then you're going to see some assignments. It looks like a lot, but I promise you it's not that much. Okay.
I'm like, it looked like a lot.
I know it looks like a lot, but the assignments really aren't that long. So don't panic. And if you are new to adult ed, I just want to say congratulations. We're glad you're here. If this is your first class, I'm really excited for you. And I'm glad that you at least took that first step to enroll and get in the door. Don't worry about it. If you haven't been in school for a long time, we're just going to take it one day at a time, one lesson at a time, one assignment at a time. Okay.
Okay.
And I know that sometimes it's a little overwhelming at first, especially when you haven't used Zoom a lot or you haven't used Google Classroom, but we're going to help you through it and walk you through it. So don't panic. That's number 1 rule. Don't be afraid to ask us questions. And like I said, my name is Jessica Brown. You will have, some of you will have a math class and you'll have Jessica Pipkin. So there's 2 Jessicas. I'm Jessica Brown. So when you're referring to me, like if they ask you who your teacher is at your center, just tell them Miss Brown or Jessica Brown. My coworkers also call me JB to distinguish me from Miss Pipkins. So if you say JB, they're going to know who you're talking about. It can be a little confusing. So do both of y'all have math as well?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool.
I think that's tomorrow at 9.
Yeah, your first class in math should be tomorrow. Okay, so let's see. We've talked about Zoom. I've kind of showed you around there and Google Classroom. And we'll just talk about reading class now. So every day we're going to get on here like this at 9 o'clock. And I'm going to go over a lesson with you. And then it'll be, 30, 45 minutes of a lesson. And then we will get off of Zoom. And you have assignments for the day, like I showed you here. So you'll work through most of those assignments while you're in class. And then at 11 o'clock, we will get back on a Zoom meeting and I will go over those assignments with you. Okay, so we're going to go
Oh.
over them, so don't panic.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I might go ahead and turn my video off just so it's not confusing. And I'm going to share another screen with you. So you should see a screen that says welcome to reading class, instructor Jessica Brown with a bookcase. If you can't, let me know. And we're just going to jump right in and start talking about some reading topics here. Okay, so today we're going to talk about words in context. So while you're reading, sometimes you come across words that you may not know, but we can often find the meaning of those words in the context clues or in the nearby words and phrases and sentences that help us understand the meaning. Sometimes we just don't understand unless we understand the context of which words are spoken or written. Sometimes words can be associated with a field or an environment in which they are spoken, such as the medical field. The medical field, if you are not familiar with the medical field, is like a whole other language. Sometimes just from experience, we may understand kind of what words mean. So if you look at the word cholecystectomy, I just happen to know that anytime you see ectomy, that means they're removing something. And the only reason I know that is from experience. So if I hadn't had experience, I would not know what that means. Unfortunately, I've had lots of things removed from my body. Laparoscopic, the word scopic means with a scope, and it also means small. So if you have laparoscopic surgery, that means that they make tiny little holes instead of making a big open cut into your body. It's supposed to be less invasive, things like that. I have no idea what this cholestasis is. It's hard to look at, it's hard to say. But the point is sometimes we just don't know these words if we're not exposed to them or if we're not familiar with the environment in which they're spoken. If you look at the plumbing, from a plumbing perspective, we may not understand a lot of those words, such as angle stop, backwater valve, gate valve. If we're not familiar with plumbing and we know nothing about it, we're not going to have any idea what that means. So that's why we need reading clues. So let's talk about how clues can help us find the word meaning. Sometimes in writing, you will have the definition written out in the writing for you. For example, etymology is the study of insects. The word is in this sentence is an indicator that the writer is about to give us a definition. So we have the word entomology is the word, the study of insects is the definition. So sometimes the writer will just outright give you a definition in the sentence. Another way to look for clues is to pay attention to punctuation that's used. If you take a look at these statements, definitions may be separated. So if you look at this, may be separated by punctuation. So for example, herbivores or plant eaters include rabbits. So if you look, it's separated by commas here. So we have herbivores, comma, or plant eaters, comma, include rabbits. So the definition is separated by these commas. Okay. If you look at the next one, it says herbivores, and then it has a dash. It uses dashes instead of commas. This is another thing that's commonly used. So if you look at your punctuation, Or it could give you a whole other sentence to explain. It says rabbits are herbivores. In other words, they eat plants. These key words, in other words, always indicates that they're about to give you a definition or an explanation. Okay, so just paying attention to our punctuation. Okay, and then parentheses are often also used, such as the platypus is semi-aquatic. I have no idea, if I have no idea what semi-aquatic means, I have no idea what they're talking about. But if you read on, a lot of times they will give you a parentheses immediately after and give you the definition. So the definition of semi-aquatic means they live partly in the water and part on land. Okay. So that's another way they use punctuation. But what if an author doesn't give us punctuation? What if they're not using punctuation? What might they do to give us clues? They might use opposites. So how do they give us opposites? They do this by using words such as never, not, unless, or on the contrary, otherwise, things like this. However, if you see some of these words, this is an opposite indicator. So if I say, I am short, but on the other hand, my sister is tall, I'm giving you an opposite. Okay, so these are just some key words that you can kind of watch for. Okay, so I'm going to read this sentence to you. Unlike his quiet and low-key family, James is garrulous. Okay, I have no idea what this garrulous word means. I mean, I do now, but before I saw it and looked it up, I had no idea. Okay, but if you look at your keywords, especially when you're looking at opposites, it says unlike. If we look at that word, so what is James's family like? Okay, it says they are low key and quiet. So if James is unlike his family, what is he most likely like?
Crazy.
Let's look at, yeah, crazy. So if you see the word unlike, think of the opposite of quiet.
Loud.
Yeah, it means he's probably kind of loud, talkative. The opposite of low key is, yes, crazy or full of energy. So this is an opposite indicator. So if James is unlike his family and his family is quiet and low key, we can assume that James is loud, maybe boisterous, outgoing. So loud and outgoing is most likely the definition of garrulous. Okay, so just by process of elimination, we can make that assumption. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Another example, Julie was loquacious, but Jan said little. So if we look at the word but, that's another one of those opposite indicators. So if Julie is loquacious, but Jan said little. So if Jan said little and Julie is the opposite of that, what is she doing most likely? So Jan is saying very little, and Julie is saying the opposite.
Also like big.
Yeah, she's talking a lot. She's a talker. Okay, so loquacious means she talks a lot. Okay, let's see. Another clue we need to watch for is comparisons. So we need to look for words like as, like, to, or statements like similar to or in the same way. These are comparison words. So if you're reading and you see some of these words, it means they are comparing things. Okay, so if you look at the word also in this statement, it says, I argued vociferously in favor of not moving to a new town. My little brother also argued loudly and strongly for staying put. Okay, does anybody know what vociferously means? That's one of those words that is not used very often. And you may find words when you're reading assignments, books, what have you, you're going to see words that you have no idea what they mean. I like to think I'm a well-educated person. I've been reading for many years. I have a few degrees under my belt, but I still to this day will be reading and find words that I do not know what they mean. I've never seen them before in my life. We have a very large, vast English language. Okay. So vociferously is not a common word. So if you look at the word also, this indicates a comparison. Okay. So if I argued vociferously in favor of not moving to a town, and my little brother also argued loudly and strongly for staying put. So this indicates that he is also doing something similar to me. So if he is arguing loudly and strongly, that's a good indicator that that is the same meaning as vociferously. Okay, because we're comparing the two and saying he also did this. Okay, so the definition of vociferously is going to be loud and strongly. Okay.
Like,
Yeah, and sometimes if like vociferous, if you think of it's similar to the word voice. So if you're really voicing your opinion strongly, that would be vociferously. Okay, does that make sense? I don't want to run through these too fast.
yeah, they do.
Good. So it's just looking for those key words, such as also. Okay. Some other comparison words that give us clues to look for are such as, for instance, and for example. Okay. Let's look at this phrase, such as. The archaeologist found different amulets, such as a rabbit's foot and a beaded necklace. Okay, do you know what the word amulet means? This is another one of those words we may not know. But if we look at such as, that means they're comparing it to something. So they're comparing an amulet to a rabbit's foot or a beaded necklace. What do we know about a rabbit's foot? This may not be something you're familiar with, but some of you may be familiar with this. A rabbit's foot is kind of like a lucky charm. It's considered good luck. A lot of people have keychains with rabbit foots on them. I've seen people hang them in their cars, like on the rearview mirror, or a beaded necklace. This could be like a rosary or something like that we keep for protection or good luck. Okay. I know personally I keep a cross. It's like a cross necklace. It's not exactly like a rosary, but it's a cross necklace. Me and my husband both have them in our cars on our rearview mirror. So it's kind of like a protective keepsake or something like that. Same as like a rabbit's foot or anything like that. So a talisman or a necklace or something that you would keep for protection or good luck is the definition of amulet. And they're giving you that definition by making a comparison using such as the key phrase there. let's see. Writers may also give us lists and series of words to describe something. So what does that mean if they give us a series with a list? So they're giving us a, for example, I'll show you. So North American predators include grizzly bears, pumas, foxes, and wolves. Okay, so if we don't know what predator means, we can look at this list of words that they give us as an example. So they're giving us the word, and then they're giving us examples, such as grizzly bears, pumas, foxes, and wolves. Okay, so what do we know about these? Grizzly bears, what do these animals have in common? A puma is a cat, kind of like a cougar. Foxes and wolves are kind of like dogs, similar to dogs. What I know about all of these animals is that they hunt for their food. They eat other animals. So if they have to hunt and prey on other animals, that makes them a predator. So they're giving us a definition by giving us a word and then a series of examples. Okay. That's another way that they give us information. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about cause and effect. So if we look at this picture, and I say, because the driver of the car ran the stop sign, he hit my van. What is the cause in that sentence? The cause is because he ran the stop sign. The effect is that he hit my van. Okay, so that is an example of cause and effect. Now let's talk about this sentence. Okay, due to a dearth of rain, the plants died. Okay, what is dearth? Does anybody have any idea what that word means? It's
Like, oh wait, no. Like a lot of rain?
okay, so if we look, due to the dearth of rain, the plants died. So this is the cause, the dearth of rain. The effect is that the plants died. So what makes plants die?
Mm,
It's
like a
one common reason why a plant might die. First of
storm.
all, yeah, that's true. First of all, if you give me a plant, it's probably going to die because I forget to water plants completely. And if we don't water plants, they die. I am the world's worst about this. I hope nobody ever gives me plants because I just kill them because I forget that they're there and I forget to water them. So if we don't water plants, they're going to die. So if a dearth of rain causes the plants to die, what would this indicate about rain? It's probably going to mean that there has been very little rain.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it can be confusing. Sometimes we have to really think these things out. So, and we have to ask ourselves other questions like what causes plants to die? You know, and if you're talking about rain, a lack of rain is most likely going to make a plant die. Okay. Those are a little difficult, but sometimes you have to dig a little deeper. Okay, sometimes authors don't give us a lot of clues to go on. Sometimes they don't use those comparisons. Sometimes they don't use opposites or things like that that we've talked about so far. But they might give us an inference. An inference means that they are referring to something. So a general inference or logic. The meaning of an unfamiliar word can be inferred from the description of a situation or experience. Okay. So sometimes things aren't said outright, but they might be inferred. For example, the monkey's vociferous chatter made me wish I had earplugs in. So again, we may not know what vociferous means. We do now because we talked about it. But if we're reading this and we've never seen this word before, if we're looking and we say, the chatter made me wish I had earplugs in, what most likely is going on?
He's being really loud.
Being very loud and very annoying. So we can make the assumption that vociferous means loud and chatty. Chatter means chatty, they're talking a lot. And it's probably loud because if we want earplugs in, that means that it is just overwhelming to us. Okay. So that's another way that writers can make comparison is by inferences. Okay, so context clues help us unlock the meaning of words, sentences, and paragraphs. And we just have to understand and know how to look for the signs and how to decipher. Okay, we're going to take just a short 5-minute break and I will meet back here. It is 9:35. So we'll meet back here at 9:40. So if you need to use the bathroom, get a drink, something like that, now's the time to do that. And I'll see you back here at 9:40.
Okay, so we leave it. Oh,
Yeah, you just leave everything open. You may go ahead and mute your mic
okay.
and then just come back to it here in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I am back. Is anybody back with me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, Kenneth, are you still with me? If you are, can you go ahead and type me a message in the chat box? That chat box should be in your lower screen. If you scroll down, it should bring up your toolbox. Okay, so we're going to move right along to our next subject, which is figurative language. Before I get too far in that, does anybody have a question so far about what I've covered?
No.
Okay, I know it's a lot to process at first, but the more we work with this, easier it'll get. So let's talk about figurative language. Writers use literal and figurative language. In literal language, words are used according to their accepted meaning. Okay, Kenneth, I see you there. And but in figurative language, words are used to mean more than the usual definition. So figurative language is meant to help readers visualize things in a different way. Some types of figurative language is the use of similes, metaphors, personification. They may use hyperboles, oxymorons, idioms. These are just examples of figurative language. So we're going to talk about a few of these. We'll talk about similes. So, excuse me, a simile compares two things using words like or as. Okay, so if I say she is as sweet as pie, or his personality is colorful like crayons, those are similes because I'm using the word like or as to compare two things. Okay. Let's see. One way that I remember the word simile, what a simile is that it reminds me of the word similar, which means similar, means it is like something else. Okay, so using that word like is often indicator of a simile. Some examples of similes are this house is as clean as a whistle. So you see we're using that keyword as to compare two things. We're comparing the house and saying it is as clean as a whistle. Watching golf is like watching paint dry. This is true for me. I hate golf. It's boring. But this is a simile, and we're using the word like to compare golf and watching paint dry. He is as funny as a barrel of monkeys. We're using the word as to compare him and saying he is as funny as a barrel of monkeys. Those are all similes. So a metaphor compares two things or ideas without using like or as. So if I say it's raining cats and dogs, I'm not saying it is raining like cats and dogs. I'm flat out saying it's raining cats and dogs. Well, what does that mean? Is it actually raining cats and dogs? No, it just means that it's raining very hard or very heavily, or maybe it's a heavy downpour of rain. So again, we're comparing two things without using words such as like or as. Some examples of metaphors. America is a melting pot. I've heard this said my whole life, and the reason it is a melting pot is that just means that we have lots of different types of people, lots of different races, lots of different cultures, all in one area. So it is compared to a melting pot. So if you think about cooking, you're throwing all kinds of things into a pot, okay, and cooking them down or melting it. So we're comparing America to a melting pot by using the word is. Again, we're not using like or as, we're saying it is a melting pot. The world is a stage. Again, we're using that word is to compare world and stage. My daughter's room is a disaster area. This is absolutely true. It's a disaster area every time. We're comparing my daughter's room to a disaster area by using the word is. Life is a bowl of cherries. We're comparing life to a bowl of cherries by using the word is. Again, not using like or as, just saying it is something. Okay, that's a metaphor. A funny thing that always makes me think about metaphors. Has anybody ever watched the show Friends? Have any Friends fans?
I've seen it, but I'm not really like, I don't.
You've got to get into this show. I love this show. It's an older show. You're probably younger than I am. But my daughter, even she's 10, almost 11, and she loves watching this show. We have to watch it every night. Some of it I have to skip through because it's too adult for her. But I love this show. I've seen the whole, there's like 10 seasons. I probably watched them all 10 times. And it's still funny. But there's in the very first episode, the character Rachel is kind of a spoiled brat, rich kid, spoiled brat. Her dad's a successful doctor. Well, in the very first episode, she has left her fiance at the altar, and she runs and finds her friend Monica, and she's at her friend Monica's hiding out because she ran out on this big fancy wedding, and her dad tracks her down. And he calls her at Monica's house, and he's trying to figure out why she did this, what's going on. And she's telling him, all of my life, everyone has told me, you're a shoe, you're a shoe, you're a shoe. And today I just stopped and said, what if I don't want to be a shoe? What if I want to be a purse, or a hat? And her dad's on the phone saying, well, go buy a hat. I'll buy you a hat. And she says, no, I'm not saying I want you to buy me a hat. I'm saying I am a hat, Daddy. It's a metaphor. So she is not saying that she's like a hat. She's saying she is a hat. She wants to be something different than what everybody expected her to be. But that's a funny example of a metaphor. She's comparing herself to a hat, saying, what if I want to be a hat? What if I don't want to be a shoe? What if I want to be a hat? But anyways, you got to watch that show. It's hilarious. Okay, let's talk about personification. Personification is giving human characteristics to animals or objects. So, for example, the leaves danced their way through the lawn. So, do leaves actually dance? No, that's a human characteristic. But we may describe it as dancing because that's kind of what it looks like to us. And if we're trying to explain, we're giving a vivid description to somebody, we may say, instead of just saying the leaves were blowing across the lawn, if we want to get really descriptive so they get a good picture of what's going on, we may say the leaves dance their way through the lawn. That is personification. Excuse me, my allergies are getting to me bad. I'm sorry, y'all have to listen to me cough. Another personification may be the sea was angry. Okay. Does the sea actually have emotions and feelings? No, that is a human characteristic. But in this sentence, we're giving a human characteristic to the sea by saying it was angry. Is the sea actually angry? No, it just means that there were big waves. It was rough. The water was rough that day. Okay, that's just a way of describing the sea. That is personification. Okay, next we're going to talk about hyperboles. This is kind of a funny word to me, but a hyperbole is an exaggerated claim that emphasizes a point. For example, if I say, I almost died laughing, that is an extreme exaggeration. I'm probably not actually going to die from laughing. It just means that I was laughing very hard or very hysterically. We use stuff like this all the time. That is a hyperbole, an extreme exaggeration. Donald Trump was famous for using hyperboles. Everything was always exaggerated. For example, he said, I have the world's best memory, and everybody knows that. Or he's made statements like, there has never been a presidency that has done so much in a short period of time. It's always an exaggerated claim that makes a point. And before Donald Trump, before getting too political, whether you love him or hate him, he just used hyperboles a lot. Before he became president, as you may know, he was a businessman. And in one of his books that was called The Art of the Deal, because he was a successful businessman, people wanted to know, what he did. And this is kind of his memoir in this book. And he is stated as saying, I play to people's fantasies. I call it truthful hyperbole. It's an innocent form of exaggeration and a very effective form of promotion. So he uses very exaggerated claims to emphasize a point that he's trying to make. That is a hyperbole. Okay, that is all of our lesson for today. If you have any questions about the content that we covered, now's the time to ask. You can ask me in the chat. You can put your microphone on and ask me. I'm going to stop sharing that screen real quick.
So like so at this time we would do our work and then back at 11.
Yes, we're going to come back at 11. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a couple of things real quick. Let me get out of a couple of things here. And I'm going to share another screen with you. Share this. Okay, so if you're back in your Google Classroom, and you are up here, like this was your stream. Remember, this is where you're going to be to begin with. And then you're going to click on classwork up here. And you're going to scroll down. If you haven't done these two things, the syllabus quiz and the tell me about yourself, you may go ahead and do those. But class 1, October 27th, this is what we're working on today. This is just objectives. This is just saying what we went over and what we're trying to learn today. We'll have reading, determine word meaning. This is one assignment that I want you to do. Workplace words in context. Reading 2, context clues, and connotation and figurative language. Okay, if you look down here, there is Common Lit. And the easiest way is if you click on View Assignment. Oh, I'm sorry, it's going to give me a different view. Let me back up here, and my phone is just going crazy. So give me a sec. Okay. If you click on the Common Lit assignment, you're going to get a page that looks something like this. If you go to, I would go up here to login. Or I'm sorry, sign up. If you haven't already signed up for this, you'll have to sign up and it'll make you create an account, and you would just click I'm a student. There is a class code that I'm going to put in the stream, and you would enter that right here and you will do login. When you log in, it's gonna give you an option to log in with Google. That's the easiest way to do it because you just log in with your Google account and it automatically links it. So I'll show you what mine looks like, I think. Okay, that's not right. Never mind. Let me give me just a sec. Well, I lied. Let me see if I can get into this one. So I think this is today's assignment. Yeah. So if you look at, it's just a reading passage is all it is. And as you're reading through here, it has the paragraphs numbered. But you're going to come to where it says Q1. That's question 1. If you click on that, you'll see the question pop up over here. It says question 1 of 6. And you just make your selection of the answer. So it's like you read a little bit, get to a question, answer it, read a little bit, get to a question, answer it. And yours will be like blurred out until you answer the first question. Like this will show up blurred down here until you answer that first question. And then you'll go down and click on the second question and answer it. But that's kind of what that looks like. If you don't get to this today before we come back at 11, that's not a big deal. You can do it at another time. I do want you to try to get these other, let's see, there is 1, 2, 3, 4. This connotation, I'm going to move that down to the last one. I for sure want you to get these first 4 done. And then if you get to connotation and common lit, that's fine. But we'll talk about those first 4 when we come back here at 11. Okay, so I will see y'all back here at 11 o'clock and we will go over some assignments. I will see you later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.